Well, welcome, and I am your host, and my name is Britton. Today, I just wanted to get on here before we start our conversation and let you know that I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I speak to people that are in those professions, and this channel is for information only. Hopefully, it's good information that you can apply to your life. So as I speak to those guests, and if you feel like you want to support any of those, some of them are authors, blogs, mental health advocates. They have foundations, not-for-profits. If you want to support those people, I'll put the links in the description below. Also, if you'd like to support the Suicide Monk podcast and help keep this moving forward, I'll put that GoFundMe in the link below. And then also I have a coaching business now. It's called Ashes to Life, and going to lead people from those dark thoughts and that darkness in their life and show them that the life or the light in their life, and bring them forward into something that we all want, and that's purpose. And usually we find that in ways that are in our darkest times. So teaching people how to walk into that and walk through that with them. So I'll put the link down there for the Ashes to Life coaching as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us keep moving forward. And any prayers, lifting up, good vibes, we will take them. Thanks a lot. Again, we'll see you on the good side. Well, welcome to the Suicide Monk, and my name is Britton. And today we have Tamar Blue from MentalHappy, which is something that you created. From my understanding, is that correct?
Yep. Me and some other wonderful humans. Yes.
Yeah, I read a lot about it, and we're going to get into that, but I want to know a little bit about you. I'm interested in you. What brought you in the radar of like mental health, and not just the podcast here, not just the Suicide Monk, but you obviously have dealings with this it's a passion for you.
Yeah,
It
for
looks
sure.
like. And so how did you get there? Tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
how you grew up and what you've kind of gone through to bring you to
Um,
this. It's not an easy road to get and stay
no,
on and be passionate about. So
no. Thank you. I grew up in Florida. Well, first of all, everyone, I'm just happy to be here. So thank you so much for everybody that's listening in. But I grew up in South Florida. I've been pretty passionate about mental health. Specifically, what we do at MentalHappy is a platform for people to find and create support groups a lot easier than they are now. I've been building support groups since I was in high school. It's just something I've always really tried to do to like help people find the community and the connection and just really high quality education in a particular topic that they're looking for and navigating life's issues. Um, I remember being as young as like 8 years old. I think it was like around third grade, kid in my class, just kind of didn't show up for the week when another kid came in, kind of, maybe watched the news with their family and said what had happened. Turns out that his mother had had some type of terminal illness, and she shot him, and he died. And then she turned the gun on herself, and then she shot herself. Um,
wow,
my voice like shakes even when I talk about it, like as an adult,
this
because
profoundly affected you.
yeah, because I was 8, and no one really said like what was happening. They were just like, he won't be returning to school, and then the story kind of started swirling in the news and swirling around the school campus, and that story just never left me. I mean, I asked my mom, like, why would she do that? Why would a mom do that? And my mom just said she was sick. And that was it. Like, I mean, as an adult now, I can kind of put more framing around
Right.
sick, right? But when you're 8, you're just, I was terrified. Like every time, someone in my family would like sneeze or cough, or, my mom got the flu, it was like this jarring thing. Like, is she going to do that to me? And um, it's just something like you never get over. And I think subconsciously, like, that stayed with me. And because I already just naturally had this inclination to like, help people, and um, help people and allow people to find connection and find I think that experience just kind of continued to like shape like how I build products around mental health, like how I think about connecting people, and it's just affected me in a way that's just driven my passion. Even, because sometimes as you grow up, you forget about your passions that you had as a kid, and then you kind of find them again in adulthood.
Yeah.
I think subconsciously, like I always wanted to, help that family and help more people understand and find a path forward without that being the end result.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question? Do you have any like major trauma in your background
Um, I,
that that's kind of pushed you in this direction, or is this? And I ask this for a reason.
yeah,
I'm hoping you don't.
yeah.
I,
I think
I
I think sometimes in our society we kind of overuse that word, right? Because everyone
right,
has like hard life
right, right,
circumstances.
right, right.
My my hard life circumstances are my dad was addicted to, drugs like all my life, like from the
Mm,
moment I was born, probably. I only really remember seeing him for the first time when I was 2 years old. Um, and I've actually never shared this story like live on any platform, but I remember being as young as two. I remember being very young, and I told my mom the story as an adult, and she confirmed I was about two. And he stole the gold chain off my neck. And I think these types of things, you kind of store them in your body, and you kind of move on with them in life. You don't
yeah,
really make sense of it. Um, and just like I grew up with a single mom, so I mean a lot of people can relate to trauma there, right? Like just having a
sure,
single parent.
yeah,
You grew up with not a lot of money, a lot of resources, so I think certain things in my life have been certainly traumatic. um, and I've done just a lot of things, I think, to kind of reframe those stories, right? Like my dad wasn't he wasn't a criminal and a drug addict. He was someone who had an illness, because that's what substance
mm,
abusers have. They have an illness.
that's great.
And he probably, being in his physical shoes, I'd probably make the same decisions that he made with his life, right? Like
Sure,
coming from the same experiences, coming from the same lack of resources and understanding, especially sometimes in and not just communities of color. I think a lot of people's communities, it's just families sometimes shun away from that black sheep, like what they consider the problem
hmm,
person.
yeah,
Um, and when you have people move away from you when you're going through something, then you kind of continue making those same bad choices and just not finding a place of healing. Um, so I think I've reframed a lot of what that early childhood trauma. Now that I'm an adult, and I've always had like this empathetic and like compassionate eyes, I've just kind of reframed it from that perspective. Doesn't mean it's not hard. Doesn't mean it's not something that's tough to
no,
accept. It's just,
not at all.
I'm carrying it. I'm carrying
Yeah,
those traumas differently.
yeah, and this is kind of what I the reason I asked this is I didn't get the sense that your passion came out of trauma. It as far as in or like done to you, like
Right.
those things I feel like I was just getting a sense that this is a born passion. Like this is who you are.
Yeah. I'm just kind of born this way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
So
love helping strangers on the street. Like it's just in me.
well, here's my curiosity, and this is I think this is beautiful because have you ever had suicide ideology to an extreme degree? I guess.
No, no.
I mean, a lot of people will have that thought,
Yeah.
but it's kind of a fleeting thought. It's like it's so hard, and
Yeah. And I think with in postpartum, you have a lot of these kind of like negative intrusive thoughts like after you've had a baby.
oh
And you have these flashes sometimes of like, oh my God, what if I do something to hurt the baby? Like what would that
yeah
feel
yeah
like, or what would happen? So um in that sense, then yeah, you do have like these kind of like negative intrusive thoughts.
sure. So let me ask you this, and this is my people are have asked me like do you want somebody to understand you?
Hmm.
Because I'm I have
Right.
suicide ideology pretty severe, and not pretty severe, severely severe, and
Hmm.
um I'm like, I don't want anybody to understand this, because if you
Mm.
understand this, this is torment. What
Yeah.
I want is to show people that are healthy how to walk with people that are unhealthy and not have
Yeah.
to carry that. And that's what I'm getting the sense from you. And I love this, because this is what I've been searching for. So it's like,
That's
this is great.
great.
I was reading through your stuff and I'm like, this is fantastic. And it felt, even as I was reading it and going through it, it's born out of a passion of empathy and care and love and all these beautiful things. And it's not necessarily the foundation from trauma, which the
No.
foundation from trauma is not a bad thing. There's
Right.
experience there, but I guess what I'm saying is there are there are people like you out there that understand the darkness, because you even talk about it on your thing. It's part of this is about suicide
Yeah.
and helping those people in mental health and severe mental health crisis find a way out. So tell
Right.
me about that.
Yeah. So with thank you for sharing that. I guess I'd never looked at it from that perspective. I just never wanted to live my life in a way that the things and the decisions of the adults around me just kind of continue to impact my life. I've wanted to find a path forward where um, I can just see them as the people they are, right? So thank you for that. But yes, with Mental Happy, one of the biggest things that we've seen on our platform is that loneliness also compounds and adds to people's traumatic experience, people not being able to find the healing help that they need, and also misinformation, right?
Yeah.
So imagine you do have community, you do have someone you can trust. Like when I was a child, it was my mother, and I could ask her, like, hey, what happened? She gave me a couple word answer. And while she was trying to frame it in a perspective that I could understand as a child, still wasn't enough language. And it still didn't offer enough real solution. So, with these expert led support groups on our platform, you do have someone who either maybe they've been there themselves, maybe they're just trauma informed, maybe they haven't been there themselves, but they're wanting to help people like do this walk
Yeah.
safely amongst other people, and then just making sure that the information is accurate. But what you get from the individual folks is motivation, encouragement, and not feeling like on top of what I'm going through, I'm very alone and isolated, and just really kind of stuck in these pattern of thoughts.
Yeah, I love that. So I think I pulled it up on my phone, the Mental Happy, and
Hmm.
it immediately took me to start a group. So I
Hmm.
started fumbling around on the computer, and then I started messing around. It's a really like incredible thing that you've created. I mean, I'm really impressed with you're bringing that right to the forefront, where people like taking a lot of the excuses away.
Yeah, we started. So when we started just on a social media platform, and that grew to over 90,000 people in groups. It was so hard to manage. There were
Wow.
bots everywhere, advertisements. People were just posting their own stuff. There was people who really, really wanted real information. So it
Mhm.
just kind of led to like, why are support groups really hard to find? Why are they only on social media where people are bombarded with like ads and bots, and it takes forever for maybe an admin to let you in because they're not exactly sure if you're a real person, or the old school way where it's a bulletin is just on a church, at a church bulletin for a support group, or at a cafe. Maybe you could find a support group through like a local therapist, but sometimes it's only offered if you're seeing them, if you're like an
Right.
actual patient. They tend to be kind of pricey going directly through a therapist. No, shout out to therapists. They do amazing work. Nothing
Hmm.
against that. But it's just the the idea of just finding support for whatever you're navigating through, whether it's recovery, maybe you going through an injury, which can also cause people mental and physical
Hmm.
torment, right?
Yep.
Like maybe you've had a life change in terms of like relationships or family. Maybe you're a caregiver, just whatever the life walk that you're on, it should not be this arduous process of finding other people who look like you. Um, and it should be private and safe and all those things. So we just set out, my co-founder and I just set out to build something like that on our own. And like you said, people can start groups. We vet all of the groups that come through on the platform to ensure that the person is who they say they are. They know that they have the expertise they say they have. And we vet all the group participants that are coming onto the platform to ensure you're a real person and you're here for the right reasons. And we keep the platform safe and HIPAA compliant and all those things. And it's just been, and we don't advertise, we don't sell people's information, just like all the, things that we're bombarded with in our world. It's
Yeah.
just like people are just trying to heal, not trying
Yes.
to buy another thing. So yeah, it's been uh, a journey building anything for humans,
Hmm.
as you can imagine, especially a lot of different types of humans from a lot of different walks of life. But I've been kind of really preparing for this my whole life. So it's been wonderful to see people just authentically sharing and openly sharing the things that they've been through. I find
Yeah.
that more commendable than even what I've done, to be honest.
Um, so if I started a group, how much would it cost for people to join, and what does that look like? Or
Yeah.
can you take me through the process? Because and maybe then I don't know how to ask all that stuff
Yeah, no, it's
but
okay.
it's so appealing to me that I want to really dive into this and look at it because I'm pushing. It's really good for at least somebody like me that
For
is
sure.
in this field, and
Yeah.
I'm actually going into I'm in the coaching people and starting a foundation and
Yeah, I saw you made that announcement updates. Kudos to you for deciding to kind of go into that direction. Sometimes things happen in life that kind of make you go
yes.
end up where you're supposed to be. So it's kind of like you're never in the wrong. Like even the wrong pushes you back in the right direction. So
uh,
I really appreciate that about your update. You were saying like, this job didn't come through, that job didn't come through, and then it's like, okay, I
yeah.
should be moving in the direction that I was supposed to be going anyway. So that's pretty awesome. But as far as MentalHappy, the platform, it looks like pretty simple and straightforward. So people can, just a regular person out in the world can come onto the platform, hit the find a support group tab, and then you can kind of log in, go through, a questionnaire of like what you're looking for. And and then you can like search groups on the platform to join. Some groups are free. Some groups have a nominal price for
Oh, okay.
whatever the support group wants to charge. And they're all kind of categories from family, religion, injury, illness,
Gotcha. So it would be
substance abuse, like
yeah.
whatever life of we focus more on like life events because life events tend to lead people into declining mental health, right? Like it's not it's yes, there are some instances where people are born with a particular mental illness, right? And we understand that. But we find that a lot of people are dealing with something life related that makes them come, even if it's something that you were born with.
Right.
So you can search based on category of those groups. If you are a therapist, a professional, a provider, an expert, a coach, or even a survivor on the platform, or even an advocate who's been doing this type of work for a long time, you can go to the main MentalHappy page, click on the sign up. We just ask a quick information about your background to just ensure
Yeah.
that you have the background that you have the passion that you say you have. And then from there, we invite you to come onto our platform and create your group. The professional can set their own pricing. We don't
Uh,
control that. They can accept donations if they want. If it's like a free group, if they accept donations, they can accept completely free groups. They can do monthly, however they want to navigate their pricing. We don't control that. We only charge a small annual platform fee on ours that starts as small as $29 for the year.
Mm.
And we ensure the safety of the platform. So we make sure that no one feels like bullied, or if any conversation is escalating. We filter for like negative and violent words. You can also set whatever your triggers are, right? Like if your group is going to talk about like suicidal ideation, you can put any guidelines, like any triggering guidelines for people that maybe want to join, just so that they're aware of what they're getting
Yeah.
into. You get a beautiful landing page that tells people what your group is about, when you meet with your group. Is it online? Is it in person? Uh,
Mm.
you can upload a video to welcome people into the group. People can chat. You can share resources. And we just don't allow like outside social media links because that tends to be a little
Right.
hairy and
Yep.
distracting.
Yep.
We also don't allow DMs on the platform, also distracting. If people can kind of send like these private messages to each other. And plus, it's also a little legal, and especially for therapists that are on the platform, we just don't want them
Sure.
receiving personal messages of people saying like, "Oh, I want to harm myself," and then now you're liable because you're the therapist, or you have a license, but your group is for people all over the United States. Um, so yeah, it's pretty simple. It's available in iOS and Android, and we're always evolving the platform. We're always growing it. It has over 10,000 people on there now.
Nice.
Um, Over 1,500 professionals are using it. So, so yeah, it's just been a really nice evolution of something that we realized was truly missing out in the market, where it's a support group on a like a little sheet, and you take a number, and then maybe you join a support, or maybe your therapist told you about a support group that they know of, and there's a long wait list because they can only see so many people at a time,
Right.
even in a group. So, and we noticed that there was also a need for a space for people like you, where you are a coach, you are a leader, you are a survivor, and you are also navigating all the things at the same time, who also want to lead groups. And
Yeah.
because currently in the United States, I haven't read this statistic, might be slightly outdated because I haven't read it in a few years, but just even 4 years ago, just before COVID, there was only about 31 licensed therapists per every 100,000 people in the
Oh
United
wow.
States. So just that statistic alone tells you there's just not enough. There's just not enough
Yeah.
licensed professionals to go around. So the market, and if people are really going to heal and find that type of community and education, there needs to be more leaders in that space. There needs to be more coaches. There needs to be more professionals that are leading the charge in groups, and that's why we expanded the platform to allow for not just therapists, but more life coaches, survivors, and things of that nature, because they do have good value and information.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
we just sheer numbers, there are more people who need help than people who are available to help.
Yep.
So it's yeah, it's just been a great tool.
I do think we're seeing a shift. Um,
I do.
it's there's a lot of people out there like me, not necessarily suicidal, but at the end of their rope with the mental health, and they're putting the pharma down, and they're looking for modalities that are beneficial and healing, and it's not just like talk therapy or
Yeah.
psilocybin or ketamine or EMDR. It's these types of things where
Yeah.
there's people who relate to you,
Yeah.
that you're on the same island, they just wrote a different book to get there,
Right.
and that's the beautiful thing, is you're looking for community, and that's what we really really want, is people that understand our walk in our darkness, or like in my case, it would be the darkness. I need to put
Right.
that somewhere. So I
Right.
love
Yeah.
what
No,
you're
I
doing.
think you're spot on that people are looking for other. I mean, as much as we kind of see it the opposite advertised in the media, but
Hmm.
I think there is a shift where people are like, well, I can't be on this thing forever, right? Like I can't be on this pharma thing forever. It's very expensive. It causes 30 more things that make me feel bad than the one
Yeah.
thing that it's supposed to be helping with. Pharma's amazing and it should exist for emergency situations, but when we're talking about your whole life,
Right.
that's a lot of decades.
Yep.
We hope that should be a lot of healthy decades for you. So yeah, I think there is starting to be a shift, and what I would love for people to understand more is that support groups have been around for a long time. Um, if I'm not mistaken, AA,
Hmm.
Alcoholics Anonymous, was like the founding, like real kind of support group format of about 80 years ago. And it has a very high, efficacy rate of being successful across a lot
Hmm.
of different spectrums. I mean, the numbers vary, but it can make the difference in changing a health outcome for a more positive one by as much as 30%. That's
Yeah.
not saying it's 30% consistently every time, but as much as a third of the difference on whether someone recovers or not, whether they, have even things, they're even finding unique things in terms of like people healing from cancer. And along with
Yes.
the medication, do they have some type of support program wrapped around that? You see
Yep.
a lot of hospitals. We actually work with a small hospital that is, doing that, like trying to wrap support groups around some of the care that they have through the hospital. So it's more of an outpatient service as well. So I think I think we are seeing a shift, and I'm really glad that I could be a part of it. Obviously, you never want to. It's weird with this work that I do, right? Because sometimes it can feel like, oh, well, more people need to be sick in order to for this platform to exist, or more people need to be going through something in order for this platform to exist. But I hope my hope for Mental Happy is that it evolves into something even preventative, where people
Hmm.
come to find this type of group support and education long before anything needs to happen.
Yeah. And, one of my things is, especially now being on the side where I want to live, and I find life really, really beautiful in so many ways. And um, I forgot where I was going with that. Um, I get lost in my own damn story so many times.
I know. It's like I feel like that with age. I'm like,
I'm like, oh man, that was a good it was a good correlation, and I just lost the whole thing.
it'll probably come back. And I always like go away from the subject and then it like comes back in a moment.
I know. Well, no, my train leaves the station pretty quick. It's a European train.
It's a European. Those things do move fast,
Yeah,
man. They are just not holding that door.
I know it. I know it. Um, yeah, I don't remember. It has something to do with what you're saying. I tried to hold it, and it just I lost it.
It's okay.
It's not my first rodeo up here. Mm. And I lose a lot. I lose my keys as soon as I turn my back. They're in my
Oh
hand.
man, that's
Yeah,
my husband.
it's bad. It's bad. Um, when did you start this? When did this come into existence for you?
2016, we
2016.
started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like I said, we were on an online. We started with um, just physical like care packages, sending people uplifting care packages, motivational notes,
Oh,
um, teaching gifts, like teaching people like gratitude and things of that nature. And then it just kind of snowballed into an online community that just kind of kept on growing and growing and growing and became unmanageable. So
wow. So how did you get the reins around it? By creating the platform?
by creating the platform, by
But
getting a lot more guidelines on what the platform should look like, and just the type of information we want shared on the platform, the type of people we want hosting on the platform, and yeah, just kind of like reining it. What we didn't like, what we do, we don't want to be sold anything. We don't want to sell anybody's information. We don't want our information sold. So just like taking all the experiences of things that weren't working for us in other places, and then even through the care packages that we had at the time, people would receive them. One person would gift it to another that they knew was having a hard time and going through something, and the person who would receive it would, email us and say like, oh, is there like a community where I can kind of keep getting this type of motivation and upliftment? And we're like, no, but maybe there should be.
No, I love it. So it's it's watching the passion being born and the
Yeah.
unfolding of, because would you say that what you're doing matches your, and I'm going to be a little bold here, I don't know your belief
hmm
system, but your inner
hmm
spirit?
Yeah, on a few. So I'm not like super. Okay, I
Right.
literally I pray every day.
Like
That's the
you're like,
stranger.
this is what you're supposed to do. Like it
Yeah, for
matches.
sure. Yeah, it definitely matches. I'm a big believer in prayer. I'm a big believer in gratitude, and I say that saying that I also don't go to church. But I used
Oh,
to go to
that's
church a lot as a kid, like a lot, a lot. So but in terms of what we've built with Mental Happy, I think I've brought together all the really good God and universe parts that I love. And that's people feel covered, people feel like things could or will possibly work out for them. So the site has more of like an optimistic view on things, and it's inclusive, right? It looks as different as the world that we're living in, even though everybody's small world can feel like it all looks the same, but globally it's a very different, place. Like we're quite a mixed bunch here on planet Earth. And so yeah, I think I've put, I mean, every human has a light side and we have a shadow side, like we all have. But
sure.
I feel like in Mental Happy I've put like the best parts of myself and the best parts of what I enjoy about life into the platform. And one of those big things is I really love technology. I love making things easier, faster, easy to understand, easy for people to
Mm,
use. And I love education. I love information. I love when the facts are facts and it feels true at the time based
yeah.
on what we know. And I love communication. And, so like all of those things where people can communicate, they can learn, they can grow, they can feel supported. Like, even someone cheering you on and, letting you know like, hey, you're going to get through this is a form of prayer, right? Like it's a form of them affirming something for you. So yeah, I think it definitely feels good to me.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love what you're doing. It's just such a fantastic way to put community in for out there for a large population. And that's one of the big things that we lack in America, especially America, is community. I don't know about other countries, but
Right.
I do know about the one I live in, and community is very, very difficult to acquire. And we live in a lot of fear of, and I'm assuming judgment. I talk to
hmm
anybody, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
but I
same.
know I used to feel like I had that fear of presenting myself
hmm
and messing up
Yeah.
in
And
some
it's
form
a
or fashion.
shame. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a shame because we we live in a world where people have more access to things than ever before.
Mhm.
Like even the youngest people have a car. That was once upon a time not a thing, right? Like only like your grandparents had a car, or your parents had a car. And but we also, the society now in America is why there's so much this epidemic of like loneliness, is because we live further away from where we grew up than ever
Mhm.
before. And in my case, I'm on the opposite coast, the
Yeah.
complete opposite coast, a whole nother ocean away from where I grew up originally. So we have less connections to like our nucleus family, or even our extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins. We just live
Mhm.
further away from those individuals. We go to church less than historically. Boomers were probably the the latest of like
Right.
actual real church goers. Um, the younger generations, millennials and on down, are not going as much. And then, we are very distracted with technology. Like, I mean, yes, I'm a technology builder. It feels weird to say that, but we are like, we're always bombarded with like emails and
Hmm.
text messages and voice notes and, all the apps that we're on. I'm on a few, but younger people have a lot of apps, right? Streaming things and, um, but all of these things have created a deeper and deeper and deeper gap of loneliness. And then the other statistic is that, as a population, we're getting married less, like as a whole,
Yeah.
all of America, getting married less, having children less. So all of these things are creating a greater and greater divide to community. And community is where you find information. Churches, once upon a time, were how people found a mate. College, people are going to college less, was also a way that people found, lasting, lifelong friendships and a partner and, business partner, like all those things.
Right.
And it seems that we're doing things as a society as whole that's pushing us further and further away from connection.
Yep.
Even though we live in a world where we now have more connections, we have access to more connections than ever before. But um, so what we love about the platform, and we get a lot of push all the time to kind of integrate more things with like AI and stuff like that, and automate like the conversations, like fake therapists or fake leaders kind of interacting with people. But um, for me right now as the leader, I kind of feel like people are, and we even survey group participants on the platform. They're coming for this, right?
Yes.
They're coming to talk to you.
Yep.
They're not coming to talk to an automated app, because they can do that on so many other platforms. I mean, if they're calling the bank, they're talking to a fake person. So
Right.
um so yeah, I think there is more of a shift of people realizing like, oh, actually people matter. Maybe it looks a little different because they're virtual, and I don't, I'm not going to see people all the time, but I'm still in a group where I'm talking to real people.
Yeah. And I see a lot of people using their talents, music, art, to reach large audiences, which is really cool. I love that there's so many different ways to reach people that are struggling, and
Right.
it's incredible because these things affect me, so that's how I know it. I'm like, oh, that's it speaks to me, and
Yeah.
that's the therapy. Is you
Yeah.
see these people healing through their gifts and giving it back,
Absolutely.
and I
Yeah,
love that.
absolutely.
And it
Yeah,
may
even
not
on
be
the
seen that way, but that's what I see.
yeah, even on the Mental Happy platform, we see people who um one group I kind of shadowed to just see why her group was like growing so fast and doing so well, is she does writing therapy,
Hmm.
where she teaches people how to write out their feelings in a way that's constructive. And then there are art therapy groups on the platform as well. So it's not just like coming to chat and learn, but you're
Right.
right. There are group facilitators and experts and leaders. And this one individual I'm thinking about who does the writing therapy, she's actually a therapist herself. But
That's
there are
awesome.
other individuals that are sharing what they're good at, right? What they enjoy in terms of art. I have to honestly admit I wasn't like a big appreciator of art and how healing it could be, seriously. But there's something magical about when you have small children and they do so much art in
Yes.
school and they bring it home. And I swear, like my son, he like sketched something. Remember an Etch a Sketch? Like
Oh
back
yeah.
in, I don't know what they're a little bit more digital nowadays.
Yes.
It's like
They
more
are.
of a digital pen. Um, but he has something like an old, like a new school Etch a Sketch, and he just sketched out this thing for me really quickly. He was like, "Mom, I made you a city," and it was very abstract, but I was just like, "Man, that's an awesome looking city! Like all these like old school architecture built, like
Yeah.
he's like small, but it's just it made me. I was like in the middle of doing something, like I was pretty busy, and then he kind of interrupted me with this thing, and I was just like, actually, it's actually changed my mood.
Yeah.
Seeing
Isn't
how
that amazing?
quickly he sketched something together, and he was very proud of it. And so like where I live now, there's just a lot of museums. So it has given me a
Oh,
deeper appreciation for like going to these museums and going to experience like people's street art. Like there are a lot of murals here
yeah.
where I live, like people freehand murals. So it's got me to see the world a little differently. And it's just like, yeah, this is actually deeply relaxing to try to like even just interpret this person's work. So
Hmm.
and you can do that solo, you can do that in group form. So it's really nice to see artistic expressions of healing also on the platform as well.
Yeah. And it's, it just reminds me because I've entered into this realm, but being the observer of something allows you to see the beauty in it.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
the same thing in our own lives.
Oh
If
my
we can
gosh,
be
that's so good. I was just thinking that. Yeah, that's
if
so good.
if we can become the observers of our story and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
write that narrative. And that's what I loved about when you started explaining the things that you went through as far as your struggles and trauma. The story's true. You rewrote the narrative to that
Right,
story. And that
right.
narrative could have went either way. It
Hmm.
could have profoundly ruined you
Yeah,
and taken you down
yeah.
the same road. And not that you
Right.
haven't probably had your struggles or mishaps or falls, but you changed the narrative. And
Yeah.
look at how, and this is the whole thing. Look at how you've entered into your natural born purpose, and it's blossoming.
Thank
It is
you.
unfolding and
Oh,
blooming. And
thanks.
I can feel your spirit behind it when I was reading about it. I never spoken to you. And
Thank yeah. We
that's
hadn't
what
spoken yet. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I found so beautiful. I was like, I want to be part of this.
Nice.
Like I love
Yeah.
this platform. And it was something about the spirit behind it. And I'll go back to the spirits. It's just that micro vibration that's coming
Mhm.
through that passion. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, you know, I usually wait a little bit to get to know somebody before so I can have good conversation. But I started diving into this because I'm at the end of my interviews and it's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you told
absolutely
me you
beautiful.
were like, I'm actually done, but
Yeah.
I need you to come on. Like, I really want you to come. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, that's great. You were like, you're going to be my last one. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. I want to touch on something that you said because I think I love tactical, tangible, practical things that people
Mm.
can do, especially when you listen to podcasts, right? Because there's so many of them, and it's like, what do I do with this information? But you said something that like really hit home. If we could be like the observers of our lives, like that's like a 3 to 5 minute daily practice and exercise that we can all do, right? Like if we're talking about like little micro shifts that can
Hmm.
change how we feel today, next week, in a month, in a year, and over a course of time, like I think that's very valuable what you just said. Like
Mm.
being able to see like, okay, this thing happened, or I'm now in this situation, or I'm now dealing with this person, or whatever it is, and just like you're not part of it, you're just observing it, and
Yeah.
you're not judging it. You also touched on that too. Like you're not judging the situation, you're just looking at it. And I think just those micro moments of just sitting with it and just looking at it and just trying to distance how you feel and the thing is really healing, like very, very healing. And just even for
Yeah.
those 3 to 5 minutes, it gives you like a lot of solace in that.
Yeah. And one of the big things that I've started to do as some of these old behaviors try to visit is I give myself a lot of grace.
Mhm.
If I enter into that playpen with it, that anger, that frustration, or whatever it is, and I know I'm in it, and I get out of it. I'm just like, that was a moment. Give yourself grace. It's not the end of the day, and it's not the end of the world. And
Yeah,
that has helped me that's also the stepping back and
yeah,
saying, that's an old reaction to something that was valid at a time. We're now relearning something. So be kind to yourself. And
yeah,
I've never been kind to myself. It's always been a
mhm,
snowball of all the bad things that I am. And so
yeah,
that's been one of the things that I've really put into place. I think grace is a very valuable
yeah.
thing when it allows you to start to understand how to love yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I also look at grace as a bank account.
Mm.
And I look at, and some people could call it like karma or whatever, but I try to, whether you're giving it to yourself or you're giving it to others, I always try to come from the perspective where I give other people a lot of grace, because I think of all the times where I'm gonna need to withdraw grace. So I try to
That's
think from the
funny.
perspective of like I need to be depositing a lot of grace, whether it's for myself, like on, like you said,
Mm.
on those tough days where we kind of revert back to old behaviors, or something happens and that and we're triggered in a way, and then and maybe the behavior pops up, right? Like, or maybe we messed up and we're harshly like criticizing ourselves, and it's just like I can make like a withdrawal from this grace. And my other favorite person that I follow, Esther Hicks, is just really great. She always says that, you have to think of yourselves as like a baby. And if a baby fell, most adults, like all adults, are like, oh, he's so cute. And they help pick the baby back up, or they let the baby pick themselves back up. And it's just like, no one ever says like, oh, you dumb baby, you fell, like
Stupid
she was,
kid.
yeah, you stupid kid. Like, you're never going to learn this walking thing that I can do so easily. And, she's right. Like, if we look at our lives as in every single phase that we are in every single moment, every new thing is us being a baby, like
Yeah.
relearning it. So, and in that regard, you're not going to say, oh, you're stupid, you're you're never going to be able to get back up. You would just be like, yeah, you can do this, you're so cute. And we actually admire the mistakes of a baby.
Yep.
I
Yep.
have a small child. He says things very funny sometimes, and it's just so cute and endearing. It's not like, oh, you said that word wrong.
Oh, I
Like
know.
no one does that. So in those moments, I try to think like, yeah, I'm just a baby in this. Like, I'm gonna figure it out.
Or even your mistakes, you're just a silly kid. I mean, I just,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
that's the way it is. And
right.
that's what I found that boy in me and realized I'm not the person I thought I was. Have I acted that way and tried to prove myself right many, many times? Yeah. Did it become habit? Yeah. But it's not who I am internally. And
Absolutely.
that's not my true nature desires not to be this thing that I have protected myself with for so long. It's just not.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, that's really good. Like, we do use experiences we've had, things of the past, to protect ourselves, because sometimes we think like the thing that we need to do, or the opposite thing, feels like harder, or there's going to be even more judgment on the other side. Like, even the bad behaviors or the dark thoughts, it's kind of like it's the devil,
Mm-hmm.
versus like changing yourself. It's just like, well, um, I may not know how I'm going to be. I don't know how people are going to treat me, acting differently, evolving. So yeah, sometimes we do kind of protect ourselves by holding ourselves back a little.
Oh yeah. I stand in my own way so often. As I
Hmm.
become the observer, I stand in my way less because I
Hmm.
know I'm standing in my way.
Yeah.
Like I recognize it now. I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
oh, there's a reason that's not happening the way
Hmm.
you're hoping. And it's generally because I'm fighting something internal.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You were very authentic in the way that you talked about like um, launching into the coaching, and how people were bombarding you anyway, asking you about it, and you were just kind of like, no, no, it's only like I know it's a bunch of people now. It's growing. More people are asking, but no. So yeah, sometimes it is that. Oh, it's literally just me holding me up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I even do that even with what I'm building with Mental Happy. It's just sometimes I'm like, for a long time, even with the platform, I was just like, oh yeah, therapists and professionals, and then we had like all these people ask, like survivors and coach, all these other people like asking, and I'm just like, I'm really the only gatekeeper. And I had this thing in my mind that, you know, only these group of people would be interested, and other people would like not find
Yes.
it as interesting, would compare me to a bunch of other platforms that are probably have way more features and stuff like that. And it's just like, you're kind of, people are literally saying something to you, and you're making up a narrative in your mind that's like the opposite of what you're
Right.
being told. So yeah, I I think in any, no matter how evolved we are, we all have this. no matter what the evidence we see outside, we're just telling ourselves another story that's
Yeah.
physically holding us in one place.
Well, and it's interesting that you say evidence, because I'm a very evidence-based, logical, per se, highly emotional. The logic validates the emotion.
Yeah.
Um, we tend to put ourselves in that box. We
Yeah.
put it in we create the narrative that keeps us boxed in, like what you're saying, and I think
Hmm.
that's a great way to put that from how you said that. It's just,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
exactly what we're
I'm a
doing.
Pisces myself, so I tend to
Oh
be
yeah,
dreamy, emotional, and yes, logic I feel like I've leaned on because it pulls me it pulls me down from
yeah.
just the dreaminess that I always want to be in.
Well, see, and my problem is I have so much evidence to support that I shouldn't have faith.
Hmm.
Okay, that's
Mm.
but here's the thing. Look at the story. Step back. Look at the narration of that story. The
Yeah.
story's
Right.
true. The abandonment's true. That story as a boy is true.
Yeah.
The linear line of abandonment and feeling that's true.
Right.
But is that narrative
There is.
story
Right.
true? Because that
Right.
narrated story has actually made you the person that you are.
Hmm.
And is the person you are such a bad thing? You've had bad things done to you,
Right.
but you're not a bad person.
That person. Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
and
that's
and
so true.
and then we because I'm looking through that dark veil of abandonment, it creates rage and anger and all the other distractions that keep me from saying, actually, my God's been walking with me the whole
The
time,
whole time, yeah. The whole time. The whole time. And
never leaving.
even even in like the worst things, um, you have to imagine like how much worse would
Yeah,
it have been if you were truly walking alone, right? Like bad things happen, sure.
yeah.
But like how much worse could it have been or would it have been? And I think you're right. I also don't even just to sympathize with people on what you said. Like, I think the hardest thing is like separating that bad things happen to me, but I'm not a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
It must be like the hardest thing to try to pull apart because the stories feel so real. And we know that it really happened to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when people are your parent when it's a parent, especially when it's a parent that something happened to you through them, it's just you sometimes maybe you look like that parent, you see yourself through that parent, so it's hard to separate that.
Yeah.
I'm not my parents, right? Like at least for me when I was a kid, it's just I there was a period where I grew up with like, how do I know for sure I'm not prone to being a substance abuser? Like how do I know for sure that that's not me? Right? Because it's very hard to disassociate like
Mm-hmm.
that thing that happened with, well, this is who he is. How do I know that that's not who I am? Because I'm genetically the same person, right? Like I'm an extension of the genetics of my parents. So that can be really tough. And I don't know the answers for that. It's not like I've gone through therapy and try to like work through that. Um, I just try to come to a place where just basic understanding where it's like I know what could happen making those decisions. I know what's at risk to losing. Um, and I definitely don't want to go down that path. I mean, he was in and out of jail until he got deported. So I definitely don't want to relive that life. So I kind of like stayed away from drugs forever, right? Like it's just not
Right.
something. But it doesn't mean I don't have those feelings of like, how do I fully separate and just say like, hey, that I'm just a different person. That's really tough.
Hmm. See, I think I had to face that I am my mother and my father, and the mix of those two plus my own person. So
Hmm.
there's really three people that are in this body and this spirit that's come together. And that's what makes us, that's the funny thing about humans. We're all unique in so many ways, and we
Yeah.
struggle with similar things, but we're all in individual boats. And
Right.
that's
Yeah.
and that's the hard part. And that's when you get close enough to a boat, then you can have community, and you can actually step into their boat and have, sup food, and have a good old time. But we are on this journey alone, and we need to learn how. And that's what I was going to say. It seems like you've learned how to respect yourself really
Mm.
well.
I've never heard that before, but yeah, I can see that.
That's my thing that I learned, that I started putting up boundaries, that all these things that I'm hurt, people have hurt me. Well,
Hmm.
that means the person that's hurt me is causing this person that's new to pay the consequences for something that they didn't do.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so everybody should be able to hurt me equally. And
Mm.
how do I decide that? Well, it's based on the respecting myself. I'm like, well, do I respect myself? Well, no. So what does that look like? What's imbalanced in my life? Exercise, food, prayer,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
And when I start
Yeah. I have this
balancing,
thing. I have a thing where I say, like, it's one thing to put up boundaries. Like, when there's a boundary, it is, people sometimes think like, and this is very overused in society, like,
yes,
oh, you're crossing my boundaries.
yeah,
But if it's a boundary, right? It is equally for the other person and
mm-hmm.
you. And I think that's what you're saying about the respecting myself, right?
Yeah,
Because if this is the line, then I also on this side of the boundary need to respect the rules of that boundary. And I think
yes,
sometimes we think boundaries is just for other people. No,
right,
boundaries are also equally for you respecting yourself and the rules of that as well, right?
yes,
Like
yeah,
I don't hang out with people that, XYZ, or I don't like it, then, that XYZ needs to be a value, a principle, an ethos, and how you live as well. And I think
right,
that's where some people get confused. They sometimes use that to like excommunicate one particular person while they still go over here and they they violate those boundaries, or they let other people violate those
yeah,
boundaries. Um, so yeah,
and
I do respect myself in that. I I'm also part of that line.
yeah. You know what I found about this is the thing I found with respecting myself is I'm in control of how much each individual gets to push that respect line. So
Mhm.
they can come in, but it's all up to me. Period.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
all about, like, if somebody shows signs of something familiar, okay, I'll let you a little bit farther.
Mhm.
Your lead way, per se, not boundary, your lead way
Lead way.
is
Yeah.
much less than somebody that I know and know their intention behind, even in their bad behavior. I know that's not truly who they're trying to be or truly who they are. So I can let that boundary flex more. There we go.
Yeah, fuck. I'm gonna start using that lead way. I like that. No, it's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
these are great lessons, It's just
Alexa.
oh
I don't know.
I when she just randomly starts talking to me, it's
Oh
freaky,
my gosh.
I
I'm
mean,
you don't
I
want to
I
know.
remember I remember television turning off on a particular network at like 10:59 p.m.,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
from that evolution to where we are now with things
Anything
that you just,
everywhere.
yeah, everything everywhere is just like mind blowing, and a span of like 40 years, it's wild. But yeah, when she just kind of tells you things, it's freaky.
Yeah, especially when I'm not talking to her and she's like, "Oh, I can't help you with that." I'm like,
I didn't.
You don't want to
Okay.
know what I think of Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. That's funny.
It's bad. But so how can um, people find mental happy?
If you go to mentalhappy.com to host your expert led group or to find a group, there are also other really great resources on the page. If you're looking for a group, you'll have to scroll down a little to the find a support group. If you're looking to host, it's right at the top. There's a really great resources page. As I said, we're a really big believer in like just free tactical resources for people
Yep.
to navigate their day-to-day emotional wellness. So the downloadable resource pages are free. They're quite popular when we put them out. They get a lot of visits. People really, really love them. We actually have a hard time putting up new ones all the time. Um, but yeah, mentalhappy.com, or we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, like all the things. But
And then
we
Mental
hope,
Happy is you have the app, right?
yep, we do. And then
Yep.
we're in the iOS and what is it, Apple and Android
And
store as
Android.
well. Yeah,
Okay.
you can find us
Great.
there. But yeah, I'd love to, for anybody who's looking to be a host, we'd love to have you on the platform. And if we can help you somewhere along your journey in finding community and finding groups, we'd love to see you as well.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your passion and your joy. And
Thank you,
uh,
Britton. This was
yeah,
great.
yeah, this was awesome. I really have enjoyed meeting you and speaking with you, and I look forward
Same.
to this. I'm definitely looking forward to trying this out and starting some
Yeah,
stuff. So it feeds into what I'm doing currently, and I love that. And so
awesome.
exciting.
Yeah,
I love your heart behind it. It comes through, and it really does for me. So
yeah,
that,
thank you.
I thought it was just like, I'm drawn to it, and I'm
Thank
not
you.
generally
Yeah,
drawn to stuff like that. It's
yeah,
always an avenue to how can I improve something, but there's something different about this for me, and it's soulful per se.
yeah. Well, I love your platform. I've been following it for a while. I actually don't come out much. I haven't done a podcast in a long time, mainly just because I'm just so heads down focused. But I really love the messaging that you're putting out and just the
Thank you.
variety of people that you have on the platform and just how authentic you share your journey. Clearly, with all the people who follow you, you're also setting the right message. So, thank you for the work you do, because you're doing twice the work uh, of what I'm even doing because you're doing the work of self, and then you're doing the work of like, hey, I've learned this, you guys. Like, let's see, maybe if this could help other people, or just being a mirror. So, and that's hard to be kind of authentically unraveling your own stuff, and then also helping people do that walk for themselves as well. So thank you for the work that you do, and your
Oh,
light.
thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. Um, but this is what is exciting for me is that there you don't have to have major trauma to have the kind of passion to change lives. I love what you're doing. Absolutely love it.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so
So,
much. And thank you so much for all the listeners.
yeah. Well, thanks for being on the Suicide Monk, and we'll see you on the flip side, or the good side.
The good side.
I just want to get on here and tell you a little bit about Ashes to Life coaching. It is a passion of mine to help people go from a darkness that they live in to finding who they are. And coming from that and experiencing that lifestyle, and now being on the other side of that, I want to help those that are struggling, that want to live and find that life and find that passion and that purpose. So if you're interested in that type of coaching, I have some spots available. I will leave the link down below and how you can contact me. And that's about it. Thanks a lot. We'll see you on the good side.